Hey now, welcome to the Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game reaction. Michael Remis here with Connor Hrabchak following the Winnipeg Jets 2-1 Game 2 win over the St. Louis Blues in the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. The Winnipeg Jets now have a 2-0 series lead. What another incredible night here at Canada Life Centre in the whiteout with the Winnipeg Jets, again, leading the series 2-0. Connor, how you doing here?
What a game. And the Winnipeg Jets have won a game too, something they haven't done in the last 2 years. They've had a 1-0 series lead each of the last 2 years and then would get swept after game one. But yeah, they take home game two in a hard-fought, physical, highly entertaining game. I think this game was actually more entertaining than game one. Long-standing theory that more goals does not equal more entertainment. And it was a good night for that theory because this was physical. It was tight checking. There was a few massive hits, some really nice goals, and tie game going into the third. Kyle Connor with the winner. And this place was great throughout the night, even with less goals. They were oohing and awing for chances and the big hits. It was great.
Yeah, again, the Winnipeg crowd, you could say the best in pro sports, and they certainly brought it tonight. Everyone dressed in white, everyone making noise, and we'll just go through the pregame here. It's Mark Scheifele, throughout his career, he's always had to be the guy to leave last, and I was getting a water or a coffee, and I hear people booing. I'm like, what's going on out there? And it's him and Blues goaltender, backup goaltender, Joel Hofer, in a little bit of a standoff on, okay, who's going to leave the ice last, and Scheifele ended up winning that one, but Hofer made him wait a bit.
Yeah, well, okay, so people were asking online as well, did Hofer do this for game one? And he did, but he didn't do it for nearly as long. He maybe did it for a minute or two, shot a few pucks down, and then went off, and there were no boos. Today, he stayed out there for, 5 minutes after the buzzer ended for warm-up. So this was a long, extended warm-up for Mark Scheifele, who, like you said, his whole career stayed out last. Sometimes he has to battle players on the other team. And the other goalie was shooting pucks at the net that Mark Scheifele was shooting at this end of the rink. So a fun way to start the night, I guess, even in warm-ups, where Joel Hofer was getting booed. Winnipegger Joel Hofer getting booed.
Yeah, a couple mind games early on from the Blues would have set the tone for the rest of the game. But I got to say, the pregame countdown, they got 5 minutes. Everyone's in their seats.
Yeah.
They got a guy on the microphone firing everyone up. And when they came out, it was like 115 dBs. I have on my notes on my phone that I'm reading here. And again, MVP chance for Connor Hrabchak. And you're wondering, okay, who's going to sing the anthem? Soul Bear last game, but tonight it was the OG Stacey Natras. And how about her letting the crowd take over in the second half of the Canadian anthem? Reminded me a lot of Vancouver, Edmonton, all the Canadian series when they go deep in the playoffs. But I thought that was a pretty nice moment there before the game even started.
This is one of my favorite things of playoff hockey, especially in Canadian markets, is when the anthem singers give a few lines to the crowd and the whole crowd, 15,000 strong here inside Canada Life Centre, singing together. It was awesome. It gives me immediate chills every time it's done. Whether it's a Vancouver game or a Winnipeg game, it gives me chills. And I love when anthem singers do this. So this was, the atmosphere just kept getting better. From warm-ups all the way to the anthems to the start of the game, it was a charged atmosphere.
Yeah, I think with the Jets leading 1-0, maybe there's a little bit of that nervousness out of the way, and we're going to get to the first period. But first, I got to give a shout-out to KFC Canada. They're an official partner of the Winnipeg Jets and committed to providing Jets fans a delicious game day experience with exclusive finger-licking good promotions they're proud to bring to Canada Life Centre. On Jets game days, KFC Canada is giving away their Big Crunch chicken sandwich for just $4.95 at participating Winnipeg KFC locations to help Jets fans enjoy the game with a big hit. I don't know if you saw, Connor, but Colonel Sanders was at the game tonight in full whiteout gear, cheering on the Jets and Kyle F. Connor. Looks like KFC really loves KFC, and he was holding up the sign, and we'll get to that.
And who got the game winner?
Yeah.
Look at that.
We'll get to
KFC.
that. We'll get to that when we talk about the third period. But first period, the Jets came into this game talking about getting a bit of the jitters out of the way, that nervousness. I think they still had it a little in the first period. Some poor puck management. Appleton had a cross-ice pass intercepted and then had to block a shot. Pionk had a giveaway. I thought Connor Hrabchak, though, if there's any questions about him, he answered them early. He looked very solid, making some key saves early on in the first period.
Yeah, there was one roughly 2 minutes in, or even shorter than that, off of Robert Thomas, right in the middle of the slot. We talked a lot in Game 1 about how Robert Thomas was easily the Blues' best forward. He was running wild, generating a ton of chances. Early on in this game, it looked to be the same. And this game kind of followed the same script as Game 1, where the Jets got better defensively as the game went on. And that included Robert Thomas shutting him down. But right off the hop, I agree with you. I think the nerves were still a little bit there. Poor puck management for sure. And unlike Game 1, where Connor Hrabchak let in 3 goals in the first 10 shots, he made some big key saves to start this game and only let in 1 all game long.
Yeah, and penalties are a bit of a story in this one, as they seem to be in every series in the playoffs. Every call just looked at under that more of a magnifying glass, and it was the Jets who had the first power play. It was Radek Faksa. Penalty got a hit on Luke Shen, and then his stick got tangled with Morgan Bear, and he went into the box. And the Jets power play 1 for 4 in Game 1. And again, we've talked, they haven't looked, as well as they did earlier in the season without Velarde and Ehlers. And, no major chances. Morrissey had a shot from the point, and Appleton had a chance. But nothing too crazy. One player who I did like his game was just the whole fourth line, Morgan Barron.
Agreed.
Carrying the puck through the neutral zone, zone entries. I thought he had a really strong game. And halfway through the first, the shots are Jets 4, Blues 5, and it did feel a little bit like Game 1.
Yeah, it did for sure, with the nervous energy on both sides, because St. Louis had their fair share of bad turnovers that Jordan Binnington had to bail them out of as well. But yeah, the power play missing a lot of firepower. I do agree with you. The fourth line, just like Game 1, I believe we complimented them in the postgame. We can check the receipts, but they were great again tonight, providing a lot of energy. I see a lot of people on Twitter as well calling for more ice time for that fourth line because of how effective they've been, especially on the forecheck. And Morgan Barron carrying the puck, you almost forget how fast of a skater he is. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, and he is moving through the neutral zone. So that is a sight to see. And when the whole fourth line is skating, they're making things happen for sure.
Yeah, I do always like to point out on the NHL Edge stats, Morgan Barron, if you click forwards, he is top 10 in max speed recorded this season by a forward. And, this moment, I don't want to say the game turned here, but I mean, a huge moment where Logan Stanley sees Jordan Kyrou, who is the Blues' top player in Game 1, or him and Rob Thomas, and coming down the boards, and Logan Stanley steps into him, and just an enormous hit. Everyone got fired up, and what a moment in the game.
Oh my goodness, what a massive hit. And Canada Life Center loved it. They were on their feet, standing ovation for Logan Stanley after this one. And Jordan Kyrou clearly shaken up, but props to him. He came right back out there the very next shift. And this is one of the biggest hits I've ever seen. In the post game, I was asking Scott O'Neill about Dylan Sandberg's game because I felt he was super effective in the neutral zone. And Scott O'Neill highlighted their ability to stop plays at the blue line. And I said, well, I bet there's no better way to stop a play at the blue line than what Logan Stanley did. And he absolutely crushed Jordan Kyrou on this one. And it really highlighted the Jets' ability to shut the Blues down in transition all game long, whether it was with a bone-crushing hit like this one or with a solid stick check like Dylan Sandberg did all game long.
Yeah, it was a big hit, clean hit as well. Kyrou was down. He did come back very quickly, so props to him. Again, one of the bigger collisions that I can remember. And Logan Stanley's picked up his physical play. You saw the big hit in the last game of the year against Anaheim, and massive hit, and it just makes you think twice going down the boards. I don't want to say it was like the Bufflin hit on Mark Stone, which was maybe the hardest hit ever, but it was. I think it was in this similar spot for sure. So again, what a moment that was. And the Jets got another power play. It was Tyler Tucker on St. Louis, got a cross-checking penalty, and the power play again does not score. Perfetti tries to do a cross-ice to Scheifele. Morrissey had a couple shots, but a lot of shots wide, Morrissey and Pionk as well. So nothing too significant there. The one chance, this was a really nice play by Vlad Nemestikov, who dangled a defender and passed to Appleton for tried to do a little tap in, and he missed. But that was a nice play by Nemestikov there.
Yeah, I thought Jordan Binnington got a piece of this one, and I thought Jordan Binnington was very, very solid tonight. None of the goals really in this game even were on him. I mean, Kyle Connor's left wide open in the slot on the game winner, and the first one that we'll get to in a second here, he gets bowled over by his own player. But outside of that, he made some big saves, and I think this first one on Appleton kind of highlighted how in the first period both goalies were locked in. Connor Connor Hrabchak made some huge saves. This was a cross crease from Nemestikov to Appleton, and Binnington sprawled across and made a glove save. So both goalies were ready to go, and it looked like we were headed towards a defensive 2-1 game, and that's what it ended up being.
Yeah, and you mentioned the goal, and it happened right after. Mark Scheifele's taking the puck hard to the net and, using his big frame to protect it. And here comes Jimmy Snuggerud, to hit him from the back and hits his skate and goes in, and the Jets are up 1-0. And I got to say, Mark Scheifele, 2 goals in the series. And, did he even take a direct shot on net? And either of them, last game, he's in the corner looking for a pass. And this game, he's just taking it to net. But, hey, good things happen when you have the puck around the net.
Yeah, and you'll remember back to warm-up that we were mentioning there, Joel Hofer and Mark Scheifele with the standoff. Mark Scheifele was the first star of the game with a goal and an assist. So maybe the standoff didn't really work in the Blues' favor. But this was a nice play from Scheifele, driving the puck to the net. Obviously, like you said, didn't even really take a shot, got poked off of his stick. But Jimmy Snuggerud maybe getting a little over-aggressive there, where Scheifele's clearly cutting to the net, and he's going for the big hit, goes off of his skate, and then runs into Binnington because he has so much momentum trying to hit Scheifele. And yeah, it's a lucky bounce for sure, but in the playoffs, you take that. And when you take pucks to the net, sometimes things like this happen, and the Jets got the bounce and got the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, they're up 1-0, and the Jets have had, 2 power plays on, maybe minor infractions there, and
Sure.
we were talking in the press box saying, okay, here comes a power play for the Blues, and yeah, Dylan DeMello got tangled up with Toropchenko and tripped him, and it was the Blues power play, which was very effective in Game 1, going 2 for 3, and they had a lot of pressure. Brandon Tanev was blocking shots, and there was some bouncing pucks close to the net that, the last game ended up going in. I'm thinking of the Shen one, but they were able to clear him. But with 1.7 seconds left, it was Jimmy Snuggerud tying the game, and that was just, you thought the Jets had all the momentum heading into the second period, and that was a huge boost to the Blues there.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, the Jets had all the momentum. They were the more physical team in the first period with the Logan Stanley hit, especially. And Scott O'Neill after the game said he loved his penalty kill tonight. We'll get into the kills later in the game that were key. But this one, they had the puck pinned in the corner with 13 seconds left in the period, and it ended up in the back of their net. So definitely a momentum zapper from the St. Louis Blues. And this crowd was going nuts, cheering the penalty kill on. And Jimmy Snuggerud, heck of a talented player. This was a really nice shot over the blocker side of Connor Hrabchak. Neil Pionk so close to blocking it as well. And you could see the pieces there of a strong penalty kill. And we're through 2 games. St. Louis only has 1 even strength goal. So if the Jets penalty kill can keep this momentum going that they had in the rest of the game here, that's a good sign of things to come for Winnipeg.
Yeah, I had almost flashbacks to the Robert Thomas power play goal from Game 1. And yeah, 1.7 seconds left. And I didn't think that penalty kill by the Jets was that great, but they really were able to lock it down and minimize chances on the following 3 straight that they had to kill off. Off to the second period, and I mentioned the Blues power play, dangerous, scoring 2 in Game 1, 1 in Game, 1 for 1 at this point of the game, and again, I thought Gustafsson had a nice chance taking it hard to the net. Appleton, another big chance for him, and the Jets were just really stringing shifts together. 10 minutes into the second period, they had really taken control, and they were playing well at 5-on-5.
Yeah, I think this whole period was the Jets playing strong at 5-on-5, and then the penalties halting their momentum a little bit. And St. Louis didn't generate much on the power plays that they did have, but you felt the sense that Winnipeg was getting to their game at 5-on-5, kind of like they did in the third period of Game 1, where they were starting to kind of grind the Blues down, and their forecheck was starting to affect the Blues defense core. And then they would take a penalty, and St. Louis would kind of get that extra boost. And given how effective their power play had been, you were worried in the building, or fans were at least, of them taking a 2-1 lead despite how good Winnipeg had played at 5-on-5 to this point. But credit to the Jets penalty kill. 3 straight huge kills. This crowd was on their feet, and denied entry, blocked shots, did everything you need to do for an effective penalty kill on all 3.
Yeah, there was a moment in the second period that I did see some people mention on social media, and I certainly didn't see this way, where Mark Scheifele's going hard to the net. I thought he got hauled down by Cam Fowler and goes straight into Binnington. No call on that play. I saw someone wondering why there wasn't a penalty, and I saw someone out of St. Louis suggesting that the Jets were trying to run Binnington. I definitely didn't see that way. It looked like a player who was trying to take it hard to the net. Maybe fell a little and got shoved by the Blues defenseman. I didn't see it as anything more. I'm sure Mark Scheifele would have preferred to stand on his feet and get a shot off and try to score.
I think it's in the middle of those two scenarios there. I don't think Mark Scheifele was trying to run Jordan Binnington, and I also don't really think Scheifele got hauled down here. I think it was more of him falling, and he had so much momentum going that, he just bowled over Jordan Binnington, and it like you said, Mark Scheifele would like to stay on his feet there. Like he's one-on-one, and he's red hot in this series. He got 2 goals in 2 games. Why would he not try and score there? He's trying to run Binnington. Yeah. Like, no, I don't think there should have been a call. At least I didn't think so in the moment either on Mark Scheifele for tripping. But like I said, I also don't think Mark Scheifele was running Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, and again, you're seeing how his big body and how well he's able to protect the puck there, sure. Especially behind the Blues net. But he didn't get a penalty there, but got one later. Tried to dangle a Blues player in the neutral zone, and I don't know if guy got a stick in there. Scheifele just grabbed it and stole it. I know there's the Blues. They've already got 1 power play goal, and here they come with another opportunity, but this one they didn't have a lot of chances, and they kept clearing the puck out.
Yeah, and Mark Scheifele, this was definitely a penalty. We'll get into some of the other calls, but he does close the arm with Jimmy Snuggerud's stick there. That's holding the stick, and the Jets, credit to them, they killed this penalty off very effectively. One of the things that you can kind of dictate how effective the Jets' penalty kill is how much they're clearing the puck. We saw it in Game 1. They had chances to clear the puck and wouldn't. St. Louis would either get a stick on it or keep it in the zone, like Robert Thomas's first goal, so close to getting out of the zone, but they keep it in. And this was an example of the Jets denying entry really well. St. Louis has a very effective entry into the zone, but the Jets weren't letting them enter the zone. Dylan Sandberg, like I said, I thought he played fantastic. He had a big part in that. And when the Jets had chances to clear, they did.
Yeah, and they got another opportunity in the power play. Logan Stanley battling behind the net and, shoves a guy in the back twice, gets called for cross-checking. But again, on this power play as well, the Blues did not have really any chance. They had one where the player broke his stick and, period ends. Shots are 17-15 Blues. And I took a look at the deserve to win a meter on Money Puck. It was 60-40 Jets, but it felt pretty even. But mainly because of the power plays, and a 5-on-5, the Jets, I thought, were the better team through 2.
Right, and this was something we talked about in Game 1 as well. The Jets were trailing 3-2 going into the third, but stuck to their game. You saw the signs of them being the better team at 5-on-5. In this second period, you saw those same signs, but 3 penalties halted the momentum. Credit to them, they killed those off, and very efficiently at that. But going into the third, you felt confident that if the Jets just stuck to their game, they were going to be able to pull this one out, and they got a goal pretty early in the third.
Yeah, it was Kyle Connor somehow all alone in the slot. Cole Perfetti finding him. Yes, Cole Perfetti finding him after a really nice play behind the net from Scheifele to Perfetti. And KFC buries one and gives the Jets the 2-1 lead very early in the third.
Yeah, and Cole Perfetti after the game was asked about the subtle play that Mark Scheifele makes on this goal to disrupt the puck behind the net. I mentioned in the second period there, I thought the Jets' forecheck was really getting to it. In the third period, that was cranked up even more to 11. The Blues were really struggling getting the puck out of their zone. This was an example of that. Mark Scheifele with a subtle play to poke the puck to Cole Perfetti, who is a very gifted passer, but this one isn't a tough one. It's Kyle Connor wide open in the slot. You want to get that guy the puck. And credit to Kyle Connor, lightning quick release, goes 5-hole on Binnington, who at the time looked very unbeatable. But this was a clean shot, wide open in the middle of the slot, and Kyle Connor buried it.
But yeah, really good at just finding that area in the ice where he's all alone. And credit to Cole Perfetti's had some nice passes. Players weren't able to convert and got that one on the tape and it ended up in the back of the net. And the Jets really, I think from this point on, were able to play their game. They were in control. You mentioned denying entries. Dylan Sandberg, you saw his long reach fully on display tonight. The Adam Lowry line was going a little, but as another penalty, Connor Hrabchak, battling with Jake Neighbors after a whistle and, playfully removed his helmet, and you can't do that. That's a roughing. He went to the box, and there's some loud ref you suck chants, and even Shen himself caught on camera laughing in the penalty box. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I didn't like the call one bit, especially with 12 minutes to go in a playoff game, in a 1-goal game. Like, that's what we're going to call. But again, the Jets still had to kill the penalty, right? The Blues had a chance to score on this power play, and the Jets did a great job denying entry. After this penalty kill, I will say Dylan Sandberg was fantastic all night long in denying neutral zone entries. But there was one specifically in the third period where he was one-on-one with Jordan Kyrou. And we talk all year about him being like a Jacob Slavin light. This was what Jacob Slavin does. One-on-one with an extremely gifted player, Jordan Kyrou, keeps him to the outside and then drives him to the boards and pokes the puck away. And the possession turns. Like, it's a one-on-one for Jordan Kyrou. If you're the Blues, you take that 100 times out of 100. And the Jets got possession out of it because of how effective Dylan Samberg is at skating with those talented players and poking pucks away. So I was just so impressed with Samberg's game tonight. And he was a big reason for the penalty kill as well.
Yeah, I think for the first minute, the Blues had control, but once the Jets were able to get one clear, they were able to string a few together.
Yep.
And Luke Schenn got out of the box and actually had a breakaway and just tried to put his shoulder down, get to the net, maybe try to dish it to Barron. Wasn't there. The Jets almost took a 3-1 lead. Jordan Binnington caught out of the net, and Cole Perfetti, missed the net with a shot there, looking skyward. We're winding down final 10 minutes of the third period, and a Luke is better chant breaks out. Shout out to the Canada Life Center crowd. And again, Jets stuck to their game. The fourth line, very strong all night. Gustafsson with the turnover.
Yep.
Jared Anderson-Dolan with a chance, and that was kind of it. The Jets kept clearing the puck, denying zone entries. They ended up pulling their goalie. And, the crowd went nuts when the buzzer finally had 116 decibels on the Jumbotron, and the Jets take a 2-0 series lead.
Yeah, and the final minute of the 6-on-5, we talk about all game long how the Jets were great at shutting plays down in the neutral zone. I don't think the Blues set up once in the offensive zone for the final minute of the game. The Jets were flipping pucks out. They were stopping plays at the blue line, firing them into the zone. Canada Life Center was on their feet with the standing ovation. This was the Jets smothering the Blues, trying to get back into this game. And with an extra player, they couldn't even get set up in the zone. So impressed with the Jets' defensive performance tonight. And when they did break down, Connor Hrabchak was great. 21 saves on 22 shots. And the Jets, like you said, 2-0 series lead, their first Game 2 win of the last 2 seasons, and looking more and more like their true identity of a lockdown defensive team in these last 2 games.
Yeah, 3 stars that night. Logan Stanley with the big hit. Playoff Stan. I was bringing up his 2-goal game against Montreal from a couple years ago.
Right.
And he had a nice game. Braden Shen was throwing the body around all night. 2nd star and number 1 star. Mark Scheifele and him and Kyle Connor have really driven the bus here for the Jets in these 2 games.
I will just say Braden Shen, the 2nd star, easily the second biggest hit of this game was Braden Shen on Adam Lowry in the first period. He got smoked. And both of those hits happened in the first period, and you knew that it was going to be a physical playoff game. And there's nothing better than playoff hockey in front of this crowd. They were into it all game, and it was very, very physical, to say the least.
Yeah, and for the second game in a row, the Jets in the third period really put the clamps down on St. Louis. They had 10 shots in the first, 7 in the second, and only 5 in the third. Mm-hmm. The shots were even, 22-22. The hits were fairly even as well, 33-29 for the Jets. Block shots advantage there. Jets 14-5. A number of players stepping up in that area. And if you want to look at ice time for the Jets, as I bring it up here, Adam Lowry 18:02.
A lot of penalty kill time.
Kill time. Kyle Connor 21-31. The leader for forwards, Mark Scheifele 20-36. And on defense, it was Dylan Samberg, the leader, 24.
Well-deserved.
30. And DeMello 21-37. Pionk 21-40. Morrissey 21-53. So some big minutes. Even Shen 17-27. Stand down there at 10:07. But fairly even ice time distribution. And again, for the Jets, their top players being their top players and putting them up 2-1 in the game and 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, and Scott O'Neill was asked this morning, with the 2-day break between games, the next game is Thursday night in St. Louis. That's Game 3. Would he look to shorten the bench a little bit? And he said it's the playoffs. He would have done that anyways. But I think Logan Stanley playing 10 minutes is an example of that. You knew Dylan Samberg and Josh Morrissey were playing very well in this game, so they rode those guys in the third period. Logan Stanley, I don't know the period-by-period time on ice there, but playing only 10 minutes, I'm sure the low came in the third period. And the fourth line, you said Jared Anderson-Dolan there, 5 minutes of ice time, or five and a half, almost 6 minutes. So I think there was a little bit of that, even though Scott O'Neill maybe didn't want to admit it this morning, but shortening the bench, having your star players shine and lock this game down in a 2-1 game, and the Jets did that.
Yeah, David Gustafson, 4.5. Anderson Dolan,
okay.
550.
Yep.
And Morgan Barron, bit more, 853 for the fourth line. Niederreiter, 14-13. Tanev, 14-56. Perfetti, 16-43. So everyone kind of in the 15 to 18 range. And then you had the top line who was slightly more than that. So if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you're feeling pretty good. I think the fans were feeling pretty good here as you wait until Thursday night. Nice little 8:30 start.
Yep.
Going to be a late one in St. Louis. And then Sunday, 12 p.m. Interestingly enough, 4 games. The first four different start times. We'll see how the players adjust. I know Appleton talked about that today. He's like, hey, it's playoffs. You just got to deal with whatever comes.
Yeah, and he even mentioned that he kind of likes the noon start. You just wake up, eat breakfast, and go play hockey. And that will be game 4 on Sunday. But yeah, the 8:30 p.m. Central start, probably even going to be a little bit later than that with TV. It'll probably be more like 8:50. And look, I said it after game 1. I'll say it again tonight. We weren't subjected to that at home this year, and that is a massive win for this building. We're not here at 1 a.m. doing a post-game reaction, and that is worth celebrating.
Yeah, well, it's worth celebrating a 2-0 lead for the Jets. As many were here, many they're showing the street party. It's out there again. People in costumes, dressed up, lights, bedazzled jerseys, everything.
Beautiful weather days too for these first 2 games. Like people aren't bundling up. I remember some like last year. I think it was game 2. Started at 9 p.m. Central, and it was below. It was like -2 that day. So that was people had to bundle up. These 2 days have been gorgeous outside.
Yeah, it's been 2 great games, and hey, if you made it this far in the video, make sure you're subscribed to Winnipeg Sports Talk on YouTube or on the podcast as well. Check us out there. Hit the like button. Give us a comment. What did you think of the game? Any comment? A lot of comments on our suits after game 1.
F Apparel.
Trying to look, from F Apparel, trying to look professional. Here as we're standing in section 120 of Canada Life Center doing this post-game reaction video. So I think we've said it all here, Connor. There's nothing more we can add. They're 2 days off in between series as it goes back to St. Louis. And we'll see how the Blues respond. I know Jim Montgomery felt like they were right there, but the Jets were able to just get that one more chance, and their star players were the star players. So we'll see how the Blues respond here for game 3 in St. Louis.
For sure. And I think the overarching theme for the Blues is they have been right there. They had a 3-2 lead going into the third, and then tonight, tie game going into the third, and Kyle Connor gets left wide open. That's one mistake, and they end up losing this game as well. So still things to improve upon for the Jets. You mentioned the power play. You mentioned their starts, a little bit nervous as well. So there are still things, even with a 2-0 series lead, this group's not going to get complacent after what's happened the last 2 seasons. They're going to look to improve, watch the film, and have a better start at least, and maybe a better power play effort on Thursday.
Yeah, and now we've really
said
it all.
That covers it.
So for Connor Hrabchak, I'm Michael Remis. This has been the Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game reaction. Bye-bye.